Another installment of this old bike live stream, and we're going to give this a little go here. This is definitely an experiment and a process going through the YouTube platform for live streaming. In any case, if you're hanging out with me or watching this on replay, I hope you enjoy this installment of, or this basically feature of this tune-up that I'm going to start working on. This is actually a real-time working on it, so feel free to add some chat, ask some questions, what have you. I'll try to see them on my computer here. If not, well, I'll definitely respond to them in the comments below after the stream. So in any case, without further ado, let's get to work. It's Saturday morning. It's time to get to work. So in any case, here we go. Talking about this particular bike is freaking awesome. Why is it awesome? Well, well, it is a bike that I sold 5 years ago, and it's a 20 plus year old bike. From LeMond, built by Trek, made in Taiwan. I know that's kind of confusing. There's a lot of intricacies of that, but in any case, it's one of those situations where you'll see a few of these floating around, and I want to hesitate. This particular one, when I purchased it, I had a bad wheel set because they were using a paired spoke system at the time, and the paired spoke was iffy at best. So in any case, with that being said, I was able to find another wheel set to upgrade it when I did the initial refurbishing of this bike back in the day. So it is in for its full tune-up, which means we're going to do the magic tune-up, which I do detailing to the frame with adding ceramic coating, in addition to cleaning the parts and adding ceramic coating to the actual parts with a polish. We're going to be replacing all the cables and housing on this guy, replace the chain, the cassette possibly, and look at the brake pads. He bought tires and bar tape, so we're going to just give it the full home run, fine detail, get going. What's really cool about this bike, to be quite honest, is it's held up really well for this rider. He has 13,000 miles on this guy, and this particular individual is once he retired, that's when he bought this bike, has become an advocate to our local cycling community. In other words, he has not slowed down, he has not stopped working. His new passion is basically helping the local either government agencies or cycling groups or what have you in his area, and has actually been an advocate of helping cyclists get into more riding. In case in point, he has gotten several of his buddies, I follow the camera. Several of his buddies to buy bikes from me. That he basically has his own little crew of cyclists. So in any case, it's really turned out to be a pretty good thing. And I'm just checking the view here, see if I don't know what, something went wrong. In any case, hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully you can see me. Let me know. If you like content like this, please like and subscribe. But in any case, we're going to do real-time working on this bike. Not going to be able to finish it today, but I'm going to definitely do the strip down during this live stream, getting the parts off of it and getting it ready. Got himself a little string stuck in the rear skewer here, so looks like it's something that's shed from the actual tire itself. Continental tires will, sometimes when they get older, they will shed a couple strings, and who knows where they end up going. Sometimes they get tied up in the brakes, sometimes they get tied up in the skewer. Most likely it gets tied up in your drivetrain. We're in that jockey pulley kind of thing. So the stripping process on a bike like this is basically taking all the parts off. That's the easiest part, right? And with the cassette and crankset and all that. But you do need specialty tools, lock ring remover, chain whip on this particular case here. And you definitely want to have the right tool for the right job, especially when you're looking at componentry, which is second to third level down from the top of the line. Even though it is aged and vintaged, it is definitely something you want to keep track of and keep going. Got to find my basket, which is over here. There we go. I have my ultrasonic cleaner over here by the sink, which makes more sense because, you know, you got to dump out all that fluids and so forth. My gimbal is not following me. I guess I have to walk in front. New toys, right? So these are the polishing pads I cleaned before, rinsed off. So we'll get those put away and prep my basket for all the bits that I'm going to do the ultrasonic cleaning. The ultrasonic cleaner has been a game changer for the cycling industry because we don't have to scrub and very, very aggressive chemicals. It's ultrasonic cleaner. We use it in a sense of, let's see. I use a 15-liter one, which actually works really well. Hold on here. I got a little, okay, stop moving. You're supposed to stop. There we go. What the hell? I get these weird notifications on, welcome to chat. Yeah, okay, I know. All right. Thank you for responding to nice bike. It is a nice bike. I'm actually riding one of these right now. It's right hanging above me. It's the Buenos Aires version. Essentially the same frame. They just, in that particular one, they put different groups on it. Sometimes you'll see the same frame, but it'll have like 105 or Tagra or Ultegra Endurace, and they just have different models. And LeMond was known for that. I am in Loveland, Colorado. I do have another channel. If you see me on there, it's called Noah Guy Bicycles. This one's going to be mainly just focusing this channel, this old bike, bikes. And this is a test live, and we're checking it out. This is a full carbon, and you know it's not a Trek car. It's made during the time when LeMond was partnered up with Trek, but it is a carbon that's specifically geometry-wise designed for LeMond and his geometry. So these are the bits we're going to put it on. He got some brand new Continental tires. That's his flavor that he likes. And then we have a super padded, it's a 4.6. Woo, that's some padding there. Lizard skin, that's going to make it nice and cushy for him. He's an older lad. I think he just turned 72. He had a challenge. He's been challenging himself every year to ride his age. So during around his birthday or so, he'll he did a 72 miler. And this is the crazy thing about all of these particular bikes. Oh, man, I need that gimbal to, need to start it again. Sorry, went out of frame. There we go. So, my customer base is not huge, but they are very, very awesome. I mean, theirs is great. I've been doing bike repair, working in shops for 35 years, and I am basically out of my garage, small shop, and do high-level tune-ups. I'm not saying high-end, I'm saying high-level tune-ups, because high-end is a perception. So I work on mostly a lot of road. That's kind of my niche. So it's kind of like the road niche guy in the neighborhood here. So I do. That's where this business started for me. I've been doing this for 5 years, and this particular bike was one stellar find, and did the full detailing and so forth. And like I mentioned before, I'm currently working on one myself. And the reason why I'm taking off the bottle cage is I'm taking everything off because I'm going to be doing a full detailing to the frame, using, just like cars, using the same car style products from Adams for polishing and paint correction and scratch and removal, in addition to ceramic coating, which I've found lithium from, ceramic slam from lithium is actually a pretty good one that I use. You can find links and descriptions on my website, which is noahguybicycles.com. And I do sell parts, frames, and used bikes on there. But mainly my source right now in our current state of the state is tune-ups, service work. That's kind of what their market has changed to recently. And this is being aired in January. So typically January is the slowest month for most bike shops in my region. I've had one of the biggest months I've had in a while. So things have changed quite a bit, and hey, I'm looking forward to it. It's awesome stuff. And the season for what I do, I am just really cultivated a very awesome community of cyclists. And some of them have multiple bikes. Kurt here only has one. I'll talk him to another one at some point. But right now, he currently has this one. and he does a lot of riding. And I get to know my customers pretty well. They're part of my community. They're not just customers. They're the community that helps me, and I help them do their riding, and we support each other. So that's where that, the nice part of the cycling business is versus, there's a lot of, hardships on cycling. I've been in it for a long time. We had a bike shop in Parker in the 90s where unfortunately we had to close in 2001 due to the fact of it was basically the aftermath of my dad coming down with cancer. So in any case, I went to work for another company for a long time, several other bike shops in between, and now I have my own business doing my thing in the garage. So this is what I love doing, very passionate about it. It's not just about flipping bikes. It's not about flipping tune-ups. It's about, for me, making sure I can get everything done to a bike where it gives that person a chance to go ride as often, as much as they can, and be reliable, in addition to help them extend their cycling experience from novice riding to light racing. I do have a few racers in my quiver of community, but most of them, they may race, but they're most of us are just avid cyclists, right? So, we can do. I have some bikes in the pipeline that are supposed to be worked on or for higher performance, race, that kind of thing, which is great. But for the 95% of us that love to ride, even though we do race, we're just here to, enjoy the experience. And cycling is very great for your health. It's really good for your mental state, physical state, mental state, low impact on the environment, all those good things, right? And you're watching this, you probably are an avid cyclist yourself, most likely. And that's where I've been helping, trying to bridge the new to cycling or new again to cycling. And this really, I started in 2019, so right before COVID. Then when COVID hit, it was a whole, thing. But it's, the whole business model is trying to provide good, solid, used bikes for entry level. And yeah, I don't think I sold this one over around $1,000, which was usually my business model. And there's a whole bunch of great used bikes out there in the market where you can take and have a lot more life to it and not have to spend a lot of money. And a lot of people had a problem spending a lot of money, especially in COVID or finding them during COVID. And now we're having issues, with everything else. But in any case, that string that I found on the skewer, guess what? It found itself into the jockey pulley. Well, I'll be taking the jockey pulleys completely apart and cleaning them too. Let's see if I can read some of this chat there. Thank you for joining us too, by the way. I'm old and I'm trying to squint to see. Anyway, thanks for joining in. We got fan channel 6768. Thank you for chiming in. Jen, thank you. Yeah, this is an awesome ride here. Indonesian? Oh, sweet, cool, awesome. I'm already breaching abroad the borders, which is awesome. Just subbed. Hey, thank you for joining in. Oh, is it Nola? Yeah. Federal. Not sure what federal. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, so this has an Ultegra radiator, 105 drivetrain, 105 crankset and bottom bracket. This stuff is rock solid. This is the 10-speed. The 9-speed version is pretty solid on this bike. So, and they did, like this in the Buenos Aires and another model, which pretty much is the same frame as I can tell, but the componentry mixes are different. And of course, when you're looking at used bikes, you'll have a range, or you'll have things change over time. I have to go find my little basket for my little bits so I don't lose them in the ultrasonic cleaner. So the ultrasonic cleaner you can use, You know, little baskets, trainers, and some stuff come with them, that kind of deal. And that's why you don't want to lose your stuff. Or you can put it in a jar. The jar works in the ultrasonic cleaner pretty well. Yep, there's that spring. Or plastic baggies. If you want to use more of a concentrated fluid, I use Simple Green. It seems to work well. And ultrasonic cleaner has a temperature range on there, so you can boost it to about 50 degrees Celsius. And that really helps kick a lot of this gunk out of here. Oh, there you go. Come on. So there's a metal sleeve in here I wanted to get out without scarring it, of course. The jockey pulleys look like they're in pretty good shape. You can find you can replace pretty much all the drivetrain parts now with newer, like new chain cassette, jockey pulleys, those kinds of things to refresh it. In the used market now, derailleurs, cassettes, the shifters are more expensive and the cranksets are more expensive, but you can, for the brakes, for the shifters, or for the derailleurs, I'm sorry, and the brakes actually are not too terribly expensive right now in the used market. So if you get a bike like this and it has like some knockoff brakes and you're like, I don't know, this one has Ultegra ones on it. I think you can find these for 30 to 50 bucks used and actually in good condition. And you can just replace the pads on those as well. The guide jockey pulley here has a rubber bushing, so you want to make sure you be mindful of pulling that out and clean it. And this is what they call a ceramic. Basically, it's kind of a ceramic coated plastic bearing. This doesn't have a ball bearing in the top one. The bottom one does. They do a mix. As long as it runs smooth and doesn't inhibit your ability to shift, that kind of thing. I gotta find my knife. There it is. So yeah, I've been riding the Buenos Aires carbon version for several years now, and it's very comfortable. The geometries are a little different, and that's what makes bikes different. It's, essentially a lot of them remain in the same place nowadays. So it's the geometry that makes the brand. And then the componentry, the other 2/3 of the bikes are either Shimano, SRAM, Campanoli if you do the campy stuff. And then you have wheels, and then you have all the little bits. You can do, Thompson C-post, stems, Chris King headsets, and all sorts of fun stuff that goes with that. But, keep in mind, the majority of how the bike rides is the geometry of the frame. So some LeMonds, don't fit everybody, that kind of thing. And you might find yourself, buying a bike like, man, this isn't quite what I want it to be like or ride. So the good news is there's a market for used. You can flip it, find something else that may fit or be better for your kind of riding. And what's really nice what I'm doing now versus what I've worked in bike shops for the last 35 years. And working for a bike shop, you have Kool-Aid. Basically means the brands that you carry, you really are swayed by, that's what you sell is what you really promote. Well, I don't have brands. I don't have vendors. So I no longer have the Kool-Aid. In other words, I'm not swayed. And it's really opened my eyes. I've gone through several bikes personally of different brands just to see how they rode. And man, I had a Klein, a titanium Holland. I have currently a LeMond. Those seem to fit me pretty well. My story is like you tried a couple different ones, and eventually you'll find one, regardless of the Kool-Aid, that actually feels better and rides and fits your body. We're all a little different, right? So we want to celebrate that. And then that's the frame geometry, which you can't really change too much between, but you can change the stem, the bars, the seat, the length of cranks. You can go shorter cranks if you want. All those things to get that bike to be more fitted to you. And fit is the first and foremost important thing. It could be the best deal in the world, but if it's not the right size for you, it's not the right bike. So basically you just bought yourself a paperweight or a bad experience. So you want to make sure you get that fit down first. And then it might be a trial and error. It's like, this is a 57, which I ride 57s, but I'm aging, I'm getting older. So I turned 55 this year. So yeah, I'm in the decline shrinking stage of my life. So I might be riding a 56 or a 55 here in a few years. So yeah, keep mindful of that. And anyway, this is really cool. So what I like about this bike is the brakes are internal or underneath the handlebars, but it's all external cables in the housing. It's easier to work on. It's easy for you to watch videos like me do the thing, and you can do it yourself. So maintenance on it is just awesome. User-friendly in the sense. Some people just don't find the time that they want to do it, which is fine. Because, not everybody wants to change the oil in their car, right? That kind of thing, or do a tune-up on their bike, or set up their tubeless systems. They'll rather have somebody that knows what they're doing and do it in half the time, and they're willing to pay for it. That's fine. But if you're in a situation that you want to work on your bike, and I implore people to work on their bikes, try it. The reason being is you want to get to know your bike or how to work on bikes as much as possible, especially when you get out there for like mountain biking, you get out there in the middle of nowhere. And if you have, some level of technical skill to, do what needs to be done, then you're doing great. So before I take these bars off, I'm going to score where they're at, or the shifters. I'm going to score them on the black bar here with my little poker. So I get it placed back exactly where it is. You can use tape, you can use white marker, that kind of thing. These are alloy bars. If this is carbon bars, I wouldn't be doing this. These are alloy, so it's really not that big a deal. And I'm not damaging anything. You can just take a little bit of black marker and cover it up if you really want to. But it's going to be covered up with tape, so it doesn't matter. So we got that. Because fitting is the shifting position is also part of that whole fitting perspective, and you can go down a rabbit hole and pay a fitter to have the thing done, dots on you and cameras and all that, which there is a need for it, honestly, and if you do get in a lot of riding and you have like a knee issue, back issue, hand issue, bum issue, they can help, absolutely. What I suggest doing is find a fitter that is not directly related to a bike shop, in other words, works for the bike shop, because they're glorified salespeople. There's a lot of fitters now, that's all they do is fitting separately. And yes, they may still sell stems and a couple fitting pieces, but they're not gonna go, oh, you don't want these bars. You want the latest carbon, whatever flared out bar that costs $300, that kind of thing. And I've worked in shops that leveraged that before. And coming from the 90s where we used to give static fits on every bike for free, and that just kind of sickens me. I mean, it's like, it doesn't resonate with me very well. But that's me though. The market's changed, bike shops are different now. That's how it is. But if you were gonna use a professional fitter, I'd probably go with somebody that just does the fitting. And some of them are related to rehab centers, that kind of thing. So do your research on that and then read reviews and all that and everything too. So in any case, this is a 10-speed. It's kind of like a low flange front derailleur. These things are, when you switch to a triple, keep mindful of this. This is specifically designed for a compact crank. So 50 tooth is the biggest, because if you put this on like a traditional 52, 30, 40, 30, 42 or 39, whatever, this bottom plate will smash up against the derailleur and won't work for you. But you can find a whole bunch of lightly used front derailleurs for like $20, even for the Ultegra, maybe 30 for a Durace. So there's a couple model things you got to be mindful of on the older stuff, but not too terrible. It's not really that bad. I've done tune-ups on this bike before. So this is not the first tune-up in the last 5 years, but this is the first time he wants like the whole enchilada, like everything completely stripped down, cleaned up, polished it's been a few years. Not to say that ceramic coating needs to be redone, but like cars, they wanted to have it refreshed at some point too. So we're going to do the whole cleaning, detailing. And he's had some scarring on it from car racks and transporting and all that kind of stuff. So here we are. In any case, great guy, great ambassador for cycling. He's an older person that taken on his retirement as a new job, kind of thing. So this is a solid through crankset. And what's really cool about these is the bearings are external. It's easy to work on. I need this bit. Hopefully the thing will follow me over here. But you do need a couple specialty tools to take the cups out if you need to replace them. And the bearings on these, I mean, if you're really crazy, you can repack them and that kind of thing. But the cost of the bearings themselves are really not that expensive, and they still make them. That it's almost behooves you just to buy a new set. This is one of my favorite tools for these. This is the metal version of it. It's the adjuster cap that takes the adjuster plastic sleeve on there, and it has a hook. There's a little pin piece that you need to flap up. I don't know if you can see it, to be able to release that. And the process of putting it back on, you push that pin down, it holds it in place, and you're kind of in the good spot for the compression of the bonnet bracket. So put that back, and all these bits get cleaned too. Push this through, and be mindful of the spacers. I don't want to flip those or anything. If the chain rings are really gunky, these are not too bad, but if they're really gunky, I would, come here, over here, there you go. Take the chain rings completely off and give those a good cleaning too. So there's that chain ring bolt or bolts there. So now look at this frame. It's pretty much been stripped from all of its stuff. A little bit of clear coat flakage here. I mean, he takes care of his stuff, but when you ride, things happen, get dirty, that kind of thing. And he loves this thing. And the chain's dropped a couple times. It has a little a chain thing, dingleberry here to keep it from dropping, but still gets in there. I did some touch-up paint before on this guy. This one might, depending how scarred up it is, I might do that again. But we're now at the stage where at this particular, the parts will be clean. I'll put these in the tank and wash them, then true them and clean them again in the truing stand. And once they're true and cleaned, then I put it's seal and squeal from lithium, but it has a little bit of iso ceramic coating built into it. And it's a little thicker, so it actually is, I think it's a little bit better on components and so forth. And then black spokes, sometimes they're oiled black, which means they will fade. So sometimes that polish will bring that darkness back to them, like on the DT Swiss spokes. These are DT Swiss. Sweet. So what's different, this is a standard rim underneath a carbon aero sleeve. So it's carbon, but not carbon. Technically, and these are very thin carbon, so you can't hang these on a hook with a bike. It's too heavy, and you can see where it's been damaged before prior to me even purchasing them, having that issue. So, but these wheels, they've held up for them, and they're still extremely smooth. And these wheels will last them for when he's done with the bike, when he's done riding. But in any case, so yeah, the wheels are going to be clean, trued up, coated. Parts are going to be ultrasonic clean. Some of the drivetrain bits are going to be replaced. And the frame itself starts off with a wash. I use Purple Power diluted with water. It's about 50-50. And just trying to get the first layer of dirt off. And I don't spray on bikes unless it's stripped down, because those particles can go and contaminate your brakes and go to the places where you don't want them to go. So you've seen those videos probably like from Muck Off or whatever, and they spray and foam the whole bike. That's really going to cause problems with all the other shifting and so forth. When you see stuff like that being done, especially in the pro settings where they're doing it outside at races and so forth, they're going to go through that bike and strip it down and redo it. Because the brakes that compromises the braking performance and various others. And then again, you're looking at a pro way of things versus a consumer way of things. And the consumer way of things is light and polite, always spraying the rag, don't cross-contaminate chemicals on your disc brakes, brake pads, all those things. And especially if you clean and spray your drivetrain directly with degreaser, it's going to break into the seals of, you guessed it, your hub and your bonnet bracket and places where it can get costly over time. So you want those seals to be fresh, in other words, coated with a kind of like a Armor All type thing, not a aggressive detergent or degreaser that's going to break it down. So in any case, so the process of cleaning the frame that I do is first clean it, and then I rinse it with water to kind of just get all the stuff off. And then I do there's 3 things I use over here. It's from Adam's Scratch and Swirl, which helps only in fine areas where there's scratches. Like this guy has some pretty good scratches on the drive side of the fork blade. I'm going to try to clean that up so a little bit smooth the surface down. And then I use a compound that will help correct the rest of the paint and the clear coat and so forth. And after that, I do a polish. And once all the polishing's been done, and the past, I'm not restoring, it's refurbishing. So I'm not touch-upping and making it look like new, brand new. There's still gonna be some scarring left over, but I'm gonna basically, what's left, make it as best as possible on the actual paint. And once the polishing's done, I clean the bike off with rubbing alcohol. And after rubbing alcohol, then we do layers of ceramic coating. You apply it with an applicator, a clean applicator, put a coating on there, and with lithium, the short period of time is 4 hours, but usually it waits about 8, if not overnight. And then next day, I'll add another layer. And what that is doing is stacking that ceramic coating. I do it multiple times. Therefore, the frame versus cars is so many corners and curves and bits. It's a lot harder to get it all covered all in one swipe. So if I do a 3 stack, that at least will tell me that at least a couple of the parts, all the parts have been covered at least 3 times, if not 2 at least once. So you have that protection, and I really do kind of add it to areas where it has more gunk flare up from underneath and the chainstays, and internal areas I really hit pretty hard because it's hard to clean those. And if you have a pretty good ceramic coating on it, they'll help the bike stay clean. And why is ceramic coating really cool for bicycles? One, it has a huge UV protection, so it prevents light from breaking down the beautiful color of your paint. And in addition to, it has a high bead concentration. So this had a ceramic coating on it, and once it starts flattening and not beading up, that means it's ready to be refreshed. Once it's refreshed, it beads up and it sheds. So let's say after it's been ceramic coating, he goes for a long ride, gets caught in the rain, gets some gunk on there, and it sticks to all of the bike and so forth. All he has to do with a light mist of water, rinse it, not high pressure, and all that stuff's going to shed right off. It's really great for gravel bikes too. Really helps get all the gunk out of the areas where it's really hard to clean. And then it, it prevents the wear and tear of all those things. And when you add it to parts, even it helps it as well there. In any case, whew. All right. So we're getting the case of cleaning. So LeMond was a racer, and he was the first American that went Tour de France. He had his bike line. The bike line was picked up by Trek in the 90s, 96, 97, somewhere on there. The first few batches, they just took like the Trek OCLV 5200 and made a LeMond. They got a lot of pushback on that right out of the gate. So they started making the frames very specific just to geometry of LeMond. And so they had some really nice steel frames. They used a lot of Reynolds tubing. And it's a pretty, they've really, made the line go further than it would have if it was just by itself. In the 90s, a lot of people forget, a lot of bike shops, or bike brands, especially smaller like Klein, Gary Fisher and all that, huge problems trying to compete. Market got soft. So when Trek was healthy enough and is producing bikes in the United States, then really actually saved some of these lines from going under. However you may feel about it, that's what happened. And being in a bike shop, Trek was, they're a for-profit company. So however you feel about Trek, they took LeMond, for example, and Gary Fisher, and used them as a paired company to go into competitors like Parker Bikes. So Parker Bikes would carry Trek, then all of a sudden like, hey, you can carry Kleins. Oh, cool. And Bontraggers, cool. But our competition down the street, Destination Cyclery, they picked up Gary Fisher and LeMond. So in other words, Trek was able to pull money out of both shops in the same market. That worked for a few years, and then it kind of fell apart. But needless to say, that's how the market was back then. And fast forward to today, LeMond is no longer with Trek. They had a little blow up around 2007. LeMond is now out though. He's started building e-bikes, carbon, road, and recreational at I think Tennessee, and it's by close to a big, huge carbon manufacturer for aerospace, I believe, or something like that. So they're still producing new, and those are pretty cool too. I just liked a lot of class. They pushed a lot of these LeMonds out, and I worked in the shop, Lee Cyclery, where we carried all of them, like Klein. We were a Trek concept store when they went to Trek concept stores. We did, when I started working there, we carried Specialized, and they went to Trek concept stores. So being a Trek concept store, you had the Gary Fisher, the Klein. Bontrager was only parts at that time. They got rid of the bike line for Bontragers, and then they did pretty well, and it just, they sunsetted the Kleins and the Lawns. They had a blowout, and they got rid of those. So then it's boiled down to just Trek and Gary Fishers in the concept stores, and then Specialized just had Specialized, and then that rolled for several years, and then in the mid-teens, then that whole concept thing kind of broke down, where you had, bike shops starting to pick up the other brand again. Lee's, we decided to pick up Specialized again, and then we had Specialized and Trek, and fast forward today, they have their own shops and all that. So in any case, that's a little history on that. But there's a lot of ebb and woes. This is where the Triomphe Carbon was made in Taiwan, and they shifted the majority of their carbon manufacturing, all their manufacturing from Trek and all the lines they were having at that time, because they were making them much better at a faster pace and better quality, and then they can compete. So in other words, high grade carbon builds. They had Trek employees living in Taiwan, engineers, double checking, specking, everything going as how they were supposed to be designed. I met an engineer that now is retired from Trek, but he worked for Trek and spent 7 years in Taiwan overseeing all the productions of frames like this and various other ones. So it's kind of like the back end insights of that. scenario. So yeah, some cleaning, I'll do some polishing and that kind of thing. So here we are doing our thing. So well, I'm like 40 minutes in, got a few of you watching, give some thumbs up. Yeah, so this is my experiment old channel, this old bike. I do have a primary channel, which is I Know a Guy Bicycles, talk more industry stuff. I went to more of a place where we just talk about old things, work on old things, show off tools, back to the basics, not necessarily just be all the flashy chicken little of all the industry and all that stuff. I'll talk about history on here, but not going to talk about where they are doing with all that good stuff. So it gives you more of a calmer place to go with a bigger smile, and featuring really cool bikes, and where you can find gyms like this and take it on as a project and building up either yourself or having it at your local shop, your favorite mechanic help you for the journey of building it up to be the bike for you, and ride it for a season, see if it's a smile, if it's something you want to keep or you want to rotate. I've rotated several bikes, and that's been a lot of fun because, ride this for a while, I'm like, oh, I'll try something different. And something different's like better. And it's like, oh, this fits me a lot better. I'll just go ahead and sell that older bike. And still not be too much of a loss. It's kind of like, used cars in a sense in that perspective. But at the end of the day, though, cycling's supposed to be fun. It's good for your health. It could be used for transportation if you need to use it for that as well. There's several different bikes for that. The cycling communities are really into the N+1 thing, which is kind of crazy, and all those good things. But anyway, yeah, I think we're probably at the good stopping point on this particular one. Just wanted to feature the LeMond here, and this is a 2007. I think they did can the line around 2007, 2008, and that's where LeMond was saying things about Lance Armstrong and didn't like that. So, and that's when Lance Armstrong was still going fairly strong, I think. I think he was at the Radio Shack stage. But in any case, they shelved the line, basically eliminated it. And it took him several years. I think 5 years ago he started making frames again on bikes. So very interesting cat. I have a buddy, John Bradley. He worked at Trek during the time, and he met LeMond and helped spec parts and stuff too. And during that time he was there. And yeah, it was a wild and crazy ride. In any case, classics like him, Gary Fisher, Gary Klein, they're still around. You'll see them pop up. I just had an interview on my other channel with Gary Fisher, so that was kind of fun. But in any case, I want to shy away, even if it's a carbon. I mean, this is a testimonial of a carbon frame lasting another 13,000 miles being bought used 5 years ago, because it's going to hold up. Carbon is a very resilient properties to it. Can be repaired. There's a place in Boulder, Colorado, and various other places across the states, and probably close to your neck of the woods, that they can do patch jobs and so forth if it does get damaged and what have you. What mindful thing you want to think about this particular bike, though, it really is designed for road. So 25C is about the biggest tire you'll be able to get on this, because it's really tight in the rear triangle area. Where there's shown rubbage on this one, and mine too. The former person put a tire in there and gotten some gunk and just basically sandpapered the carbon. Well, those areas can be patched or fixed if they need to be, or built back up. But other than that, though, if you're specifically looking for just road 25C, I know a lot of people are going for more of the gravel type feel. This is not the bike for that. But if you want the little bit faster, comfortable, longer rides, and you're doing those like MS-150 charity rides or any of those kinds of things, and riding with buddies, and you want like the faster Ferrari style bike. I mean, this is kind of the Ferrari, but you can do adjustments to it to make it more comfortable. So like the Kleins, they're really nice, mostly aluminum, they're fast, but they will beat you up over a long period of time of riding. That's a young person's bike. They're fun to ride, but you do have to do some modifications to make it comfortable for an older lad like myself. or I did anyway. But this one has the suppleness and comfort of carbon, but it has a sportier ride, so you have the efficiency. So it's a great compromise. This is where the endurance styles were starting to kick up a little bit. It does have a taller stack or a longer top tube as in geometry on these. I do have a steel frame, which you can do the same thing too, to make it a little more comfortable. And the steel, I mean, it's just it's very similar ride, but just a little heavier. And quite honestly, I got more weight to push off of me versus worrying about the weight of my bike. And when you're talking about carbon versus steel, maybe a pound, if that. So it's not something you really want to balk at. You actually want the fit and the comfort of the ride, and that's just going to make you want to ride longer and further and more often. So there we go. There we have it. In any case, thanks for hanging out with me in the garage. The parts I'm going to be doing from here on out are going to be super noisy with the polisher and the ultrasonic cleaner and all that. That's where I'll have to cut this off. In any case, I will try to, well, we'll see. We'll see where we go with these lives. We're just featuring here and there. They'll be more sporadic. They're not going to be, because it's all on the timeline and when I'm working on stuff, and that's what I want to feature. So, but in any case, hopefully you can, if you haven't seen this or you've seen this, watch for other ones, and you definitely watch them on the replay. And thanks for hanging out with me. And it makes this channel. So it definitely is, it's a win-win for all of us. And hopefully you learned a few things today. And I'm going to proceed to work on this guy, and then all the other stuff I'm going to be working on. If you're watching this on replay too, if you have experiences with LeMonds or classic bikes and so forth like that, please comment below. And again, thank you for hanging in the garage with me. And if it's nice in your neck of woods, please have a wonderful day and go for a ride. Go for a ride. All right, how do I stop this thing? All righty. Again, everybody in the chat, thanks for joining in. Appreciate it. Hopefully I answered all your questions. If not, please feel free to put it in after the stream in the comment. Ask some questions, and I'll try to get to them. Again, everybody have a great day.